Imagine you're walking through an ancient city in Mesopotamia. No smartphones, no Wi-Fi, no Netflix. Basically, humanity was living on hard mode. And then you discover an ancient story talking about mysterious beings called the Anunnaki, gods connected with some of the most powerful deities in ancient Mesopotamian mythology. But here's where things get interesting. Thousands of years later, some people began asking, wait, what if these weren't gods? What if they were aliens? And suddenly, ancient history became a science fiction movie. So who or what were the Anunnaki?
First, let's clear something up. The word Anunnaki comes from ancient Mesopotamian traditions, particularly Sumerian and later Akkadian sources. They weren't originally described as a team of space travelers wearing matching silver jumpsuits. Sorry, Hollywood. In the ancient traditions, the Anunnaki were associated with the world of the gods. They appear in different stories and contexts, and their roles weren't always exactly the same. Think of them less like one superhero team and more like a very complicated divine family reunion. And if you've ever attended a family reunion, you already know. Divine or not, somebody is probably arguing.
Now we enter the part that made the internet completely lose its mind. In modern popular culture, some writers have proposed that the Anunnaki were actually extraterrestrials. According to this theory, these beings supposedly came to Earth from a distant planet called Nibiru. And supposedly, they came here for Earth's resources. Sounds like the plot of a blockbuster movie, right? There's just one problem. Ancient Mesopotamian texts don't actually provide straightforward evidence that the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial visitors from Nibiru. The famous alien interpretation became much later. So we're dealing with two very different things: ancient mythology and modern interpretation. And that distinction is very important. But here's why this theory became so addictive. Look at ancient Mesopotamia. Massive ziggurats, sophisticated mathematics, astronomy, writing systems, complex cities. And people naturally ask, how did humans accomplish all of this thousands of years ago? And then someone says, aliens. It's a very convenient answer. But ancient civilizations were capable of extraordinary achievements through human knowledge, organization, mathematics, engineering, and generations of accumulated experience. In fact, sometimes the real story is even more impressive. Because these people didn't need spaceships to build civilization. They built it themselves. So, were the Anunnaki aliens? Based on the ancient evidence we have, there's no solid historical evidence proving that. The Anunnaki belonged to the religious and mythological traditions of ancient Mesopotamia. But does that make the stories boring? Absolutely not. Actually, the mythology itself is fascinating. These stories deal with power, creation, death, kingship, the natural world, and humanity's relationship with the divine. In other words, ancient humans were already asking some of the biggest questions imaginable. Where did we come from? Why are we here? Who controls our world? And apparently, they were asking these questions long before the internet gave everyone a comment section. And maybe that's the most interesting part of the Anunnaki story. Not whether aliens actually built ancient civilization, but why humans, thousands of years ago, looked at the sky and wondered about beings greater than themselves. They didn't have satellites. They didn't have telescopes like we do today. They didn't have NASA, but they looked upward anyway. They watched the stars.
They recorded what they saw. They created stories to explain the universe around them. And thousands of years later, we're still looking up. Maybe the biggest mystery isn't, did the Anunnaki come from space? Maybe it's, why have humans always been so fascinated by the possibility that we're not alone? And honestly, if aliens are watching this video right now, please subscribe. We've got questions. Until next time, keep looking up.